Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we have an excellent and informative presentation by esteemed astrologer Rhonda Buttery on AstroGold for Mac operating system, which is an introduction into astrology software. As a reminder, we have a number of fantastic workshops and webinars coming up, as well as our summer classes. So if you'd like to learn more, please visit KeplerCollege.org. And without further ado, let's get into the video.
Thank you. And it's lovely to be here. I do love these Kepler workshops, and it's my great pleasure to be able to give back and provide some service for Kepler and for you lovely people who love our software. AstroGold has been around for a little while, but it's been growing hugely over the last while. And a couple of you have asked questions while we were being introduced and listening to the Kepler information. And I'll tell you all, if you have any product requests that you'd like to see in your AstroGold, please email Steffi, STEPHIE, at esotech.com.au. And I will have that up on a slide at the end, so you don't even have to remember it. And Laurie might even put that in the chat for you. Now, as I said, the program is growing and growing and growing. So it's really hard to get the basics into an hour and a half anymore. There's so much. But let's go. And as Laurie said, please put your questions into either the Q&A or the chat box, and we'll attend to them at the end. As with every computer program these days, there's a number of ways to do everything. First off, you've got your menu bar at the top, and then we've got our toolbar buttons in the next line. And if you click on the menu, you'll see there are also keyboard shortcuts for a number of the functions in the program. I'm going to go through what you're looking at when you look at your computer, and then we'll go through some settings and how to make it work the way you want it to work. You will always have something showing on your screen. Some people ask, how do we get rid of it and have a blank? You don't. If you don't want to see a person's chart, click on select, make it a current transit, and there you've got just a transit chart. And there's different ways of viewing your chart, even from the main screen. So you'll notice on the left, we've got here a heading called selected charts. That will show you any charts you've got open. And underneath that, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to show you how many rings you view. In this view, they will be concentric rings. The other way of looking at your chart is with Chart Explorer. And you'll see down the bottom, when I move my control panel out of the way, down the bottom, we've got 3 more buttons. We've got details. And when I go back up to the top, you'll see I'm looking at the moon at the moment. It tells me what chart I'm looking at. I'm looking at the moon. And when I click the down arrow, I can see any of the planets that I've got selected as viewpoints today. We can see the position and speed using details. Using aspects, we can see any aspects that are in the chart. And using dynamic, we can see things that are coming up for that planet. So you can view every one of them as you're going. The next button, there's also a little switch button here. So if you've got more than one chart available, the switch will switch the order so that you've got a different chart in the middle and switch again. If you've got more than 2, it will ask you what switch you want to make. So that's a handy little feature. Pardon me, I've been having some throat issues, so I just hope that my throat's going to work well for the whole session. We also have a clock function. Now you see I've got a natal chart here in the window. I know it's natal because it's brown. Apart from seeing that it says natal, my color scheme is on that it shows me each wheel for what it is. If I click on clock, it's going to take me to now. And because I had a natal chart already open, it's opened the clock as a second chart. Now this is live. It is actually ticking around as we sit here watching it. And if you watch the minutes on the ascendant, you'll see that it is actually ticking as we're going. If I make that a now chart, it's going to be static. And then I can do all sorts of different things with it. I can choose a time for the now chart with the little calendar button. And I can enter the date by just typing the date here where it's highlighted, or I can use the calendar to go forward or back or now. Because I've got two charts open, I've got two options here. So I can look at the now chart or I can look at the natal chart, and it will show me the different time for both of the charts. I can advance the chart by whatever time period I want, working from seconds through to years. I've got mine set at 1 week at the moment, which gives you the opportunity to really see something happening. Using the arrow with the bar, the chart just moves every time I click it by this time frame. If I use the solid arrow, it's going to speed through until I tell it to stop. And it works the same way backwards. We have a mini search button here. There's another search function at the top, which gives me a few more options, but the quick search lets me find aspects, and you'll see I can choose the natal or the transiting. It lets me see retrogrades and directs, and I click down to show the planet. Clicking the next one will show me the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And likewise, the previous will take me back as far as I want to go. I can view ingresses of the planets into any sign. I can find when a planet, any of the planets here that I've got selected, will be at any particular sign. And you don't have to worry about minutes and seconds. If I just enter, for example, 15 SG 20, it knows that I want 15 degrees, 20 minutes Sagittarius. It can show me planets moving into a house on either the transiting or the natal chart. You'll notice the options change depending on what I've selected at the top. I can find returns, again, for all the planets that I've got selected. And I can find lunations and eclipses, which shows me eclipses, new moon, full moon, or either. Now, something I learned the other day by accident is that the options here that I've got depend on my default display points. I was working with a chart that only had Saturn out, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't see what was going to happen with the moon. So the options here will depend on your default display points. Okay, we can view the chart. I'm going to go back to one chart. We can view the wheel, which we're used to looking at, most of us. We can also view the grid, which will show you the aspects, and we can view the dial. Now, if you're not familiar with the 90-degree dial, and it doesn't have to be 90 degrees, you can go from 22 to 360. The cosmobiologists and the Uranian astrologists like to use the dial, and by using a 90-degree dial, the effect is cutting your chart into 4 pie pieces and overlaying them. And what that does, it brings conjunctions, squares, and oppositions together. So we know that Venus, Mars, well, we know at the moment they're conjunct, but they could be conjunct, square, or opposite, because that is a function of 90 degrees. Anything that is diagonally opposite the wheel is semi-square or sesquiquadrate when you're using the 90-degree dial. And anything that looks like a triangle, sun, midheaven, is a sextile or a trine. We'll go back to that one for now. A very important button on your program is the little I, and underneath it even tells you it's the help. That will take you to the online user guide. And I love electronic user guides because of the search function. Although our software is a bit different to a lot of computer software in that it's written by astrologers who understand what they're talking about in the program. When we first started with computer programs, all of the user manuals were written by computer boffins, and we, poor old users, didn't have much idea what they were talking about. With the esoteric software, it's written by astrologers who use the programs. It's written by people who want to use the program. So it's easy to find things. And having a search function, which you don't get in a paper manual, you can easily go to what you want to look for. The next button is the export button, and that's our usual little Apple feature that lets you copy, move, send, print, send to PDF, etc. And you'll see that popping up in lots of places. So every time you see that, you can do something with what you're looking at. And another really favorite feature is the pin. So anytime I'm looking at something, if I click the pin, it takes an immediate picture, and that will just stay there till I tell it to go away. Hiding it behind my main screen now so I can see what I'm doing. Now down the bottom, we have got the transit bar. And that's just going to show you where everything is right at the moment. A lot of these things you can turn off in view. We can hide the transit bar if you don't like it displayed. It doesn't take up much room, and I'm only working on a small screen and I never find it's a problem. But when you turn on your computer, it can be a real advantage to see that. Okay, when you're viewing a chart, if you want to highlight a feature on the chart, you'll get a little description of where it is and what's happening with it. Not a great deal, but the degrees, the travel, the declination, and how fast or slow it is. So that can be handy. Let me wet my throat. Okay, now getting into the actual functionality of the chart. Now, let me tell you, I'm lazy. I don't like to do things multiple times. I like to do it once, and I like to do it the easiest, most efficient way to do it. Now, a lot of the things we do, there's different ways to do. I'm going to show you what I consider to be the easiest way. And you've got many years of going up dry gullies, doing things the hard way, that I've drawn on to show you these things. So let's start with making a new chart, which is a good place to start. So I've clicked on the new. I can also click on charts new, or I can use the keyboard keys, but when you're mousing and touch padding, it's easy just to use the buttons. And you'll see the name of the chart is highlighted. Every time I click new, the chart information will be populated with the last chart that I used. And this morning, it's our friend Joe, who's an anonymous random date that I use when I'm teaching. Start by entering the name. We'll do Mary today. And it doesn't matter what date we do, we can use the same date, but we'll make it 1990. Now you'll notice, you might not have noticed because I didn't tell you, when I enter something, the next thing I do is hit the tab key, and that takes me straight to the next box, already highlighted, ready to start typing. Tab again, and it takes me to the time box. So we'll just type 6:20 a.m. and the system will work that out. You've got we have a now button here as well. So I can click now, which will give me a chart for this moment. Now the chart, the last chart we did was London. I'm going to change it to New York. Now here's a little trick. If you're entering the place, first of all, enter the town. And when you get to the city and state, for the United States, you enter the county, the state. For the rest of the world, you enter the country. So New York is in New York, and the system understands New York. Now you will see, because I changed the information here, my coordinates have gone red. Do trust the system to look up the coordinates. When people get their times wrong or their zones wrong, it's because they've manually entered the data. From New York, I'm going to hit the tab key. The system has looked it up. It's gone green, and we're ready to go. I can enter a place that isn't in the atlas, and we need to enter the latitude and longitude in degrees and minutes, not in decimal. So the same as I did before, 40 N 42 stop 51 will give me that coordinate. When you're talking about time zones, astrological time zones work in reverse to geographical time zones. Geography works from how far you are from GMT. Astrology works from how long is it going to take you to get back to GMT, which we now call UT. So for a time zone that says +4, in the astrology program, it's going to show you -4 when you look it up on Google. So don't get confused with that, because if I get mine wrong, I end up being in Hawaii instead of Brisbane, which makes a lot of difference to my chart. The next area is, what sort of chart is it? Now, if you're doing a person chart or a company chart, it must be either natal, male, or female. That will give you natal orbs. If you're using event or horary, you will get transiting orbs, which at the moment in AstroGold are hardwired at 1 degree. So it doesn't matter whether it's, if you don't want to specify gender, natal will do just fine. And you'll see up here Joe's natal as well. So there's no problem with that. We have an option to do comments. So anything you want to know about the client, anything you've told the client, anything they've told you, you can save the information with the chart data. Now, a little further along, I'll show you how we get to the default settings for things like zodiac and house systems. It's going to pop up with my default because that's what I told it I use most of the time. But anytime I'm casting a chart, I can select from any zodiac or house system that is available in the program. And you might notice when I hover over tropical, it shows me 2 recently used zodiacs. So you don't have to search through the whole lot if you use the same few frequently. So we've got a choice of tropical zodiac, we've got a number of sidereal, and we also have draconic. Any of those can be set to the default, but you can change it with any chart you want to create. Same with the house system. And same, it's going to show me the last few ones that I used. We can't change the default for coordinates. The default is geocentric, but when you're casting a chart, you do have the option to make it heliocentric. Check all our information, it's correct. Click the calculate button. And because I've already got a chart open, I get the choice as, do I want to overwrite the chart that I've got on display, or do I want to make a second chart in my window? And I control, as we were saying before, I can control which one's on the inside, which one's on the outside by clicking the switch button. And for now, we'll go just back to the open one. To open a chart, click on the open button and it'll take me again to the last file that I used, which happens to be the Astro Entertainers, because it's a public file and it doesn't matter if I'm displaying things publicly. The first button we've got is the Files button. And if I click the down arrow, I can see the last 10 chart files that I opened. And you'll see some of mine say iCloud, and then where they are, Documents, and then where it is. My default is that my charts will save to iCloud so that they're shared with my iPad. But I do have the option to save things in my computer. And the AstroGold one, this Astro Entertainers that comes with the program, saves into, no, it doesn't, it's saving at the top. But I can tell it where I want it to save. If I want to open a new chart file, now this is a little tricky, it's specific. So some people get themselves into trouble with this by making folders and not chart files. By way of explanation, every chart file will end in .sfcht. And although they're not documents, they function like documents. So in the .sfcht, I can have lots and lots and lots of charts, and each chart in that file is a string of text, which includes any comments that I've made about the chart. That's how you can have charts with the same name. If they were files, you couldn't have 2 with the same name. So if I want to make a new chart file, and I like to have my files in orderly fashion, so I make new chart files, one for clients, one for friends, one for students, one for organizations that I'm part of. Click on new chart file. And while it thinks about it, it's now opened into my default location. You'll see over here, we've opened Finder, and you'll see iCloud, AstroGold. So there's my chart files that are on the cloud. If I want to save it in my computer and not on the cloud, I click on Documents and then scroll down to AstroGold. And there are the chart files that are in my AstroGold. Now, it's grayed out at the moment because I've already told it I want to make a new file. I don't want to save to a file. I want to make a new file. So up the top, I type a name. Pardon me, for me, it's Sunday. And create. And now I've created my new chart file. Did I push it hard enough? No, I didn't. Don't fall into the trap of making new folder when you really want a chart file. Success, my file has been created. Okay. And it's opened into that new file. So I'll just go back to where I was because I haven't finished talking about general things. With any file that I've got, there's an area here that I can write some information. I like my names to be as descriptive as possible. Sometimes it can take you as long to figure out what you've got as it took you to do it in the first place, sometimes longer. So give a good name to everything that you're creating. And here I can add some information if I want to change it. Now, here's one hard and fast rule. Never, ever save anything in any file that comes with the program. If you want to use or modify one of them, copy, clone, or create, give it your own good name and edit that. Now, the reason for that is if you edit things that come with the program, when you update your program, which happens frequently, you run the risk of overwriting those files that come with the program and losing what you have added to it. Going back to the open window, at the moment, because I can see that down arrow there, my charts are sorted by their name from the top down. If I click name again, they switch to being in reverse order. So it's A to Z or Z to A. That's what I'm trying to say here. I can also sort by the date of the chart, and I can sort by the type of the chart. And if I push it hard enough, and you'll see the date button also has an up and down, so you can sort from the top down or from the bottom up. Down the bottom, I can reverse the names if I want the first name first or the last name first. I can view my little preview here by wheel or by comments. I can also search my database, and this has changed recently. We now have the option to search for astro details. So first of all, down the bottom, where do I want to look? And the first option that comes up is the chart file that I'm using. But I can click on files and go to all my files and all my folders. So here's my documents, AstroGold. So now it's going to look in all of the files that are on my computer, or I can look in iCloud AstroGold, and it's going to look at all my chart files that I have on iCloud. We can sort, if I'm looking for a person's name, say I want to find somebody whose name is Johnson, but I don't know whether it's Johnson, Johnston, or John Stone. So I just type as much of the text that I do know and then click search, and I'm looking in all of my charts here, and it will search the program and find names that include that string of data. I can edit. This is a program that comes with the computers, with the program. This is a file that comes with the program. So I'm not going to edit, but if I wanted to, this is the button to use to edit. Now, just say that I was carried away creating charts all over the place, and then I discover I've saved them all in Astro Entertainers, which is a file that comes with the program. I've now learned how to make different chart files. So now I want to clean up my files so everything's in its right place. You don't really have to do that because the search button will find your charts regardless of where they are. But say, for example, I want to clean up my chart files, or I want to work on a project and I want the files I want to work with in one project file. So by holding down the Command key, I can random select anything in the list. And then I'm going to select copy. And now my default opens up. And we can use that Sunday file I just created. That's not where it is. So we'll use Friday's file. Pardon me. I'm going to click the copy button. And now those charts have been copied to that file. Click OK. And I'm back where I started from. So now I've got the choice. If I'm cleaning up my files, I'm going to delete those files. But if I'm doing a separate project, I'm just going to click and deselect the charts so that they stay where they are. If I want to open one of these charts, highlight the chart I want, click select, and because I've got a chart already, it's asking me where I want to save it. Do I want to create a new one, or do I want to overwrite the one that I've got before? Okay, I'll just go back to 1. If I want to save a chart, this one is not saved, so the save is visible. And even if it says is saved, I can click the button again and save another copy. I click save, and this is another area that I can go if I want to create a new file. So I'm doing this now to show you because it's different to what I just showed you from the open button. Down the bottom, we've got new folder, show options. So what do? Show options. Then we get the option to create a new chart file. And then we go back. And now we've got our new file. And my control panel was over the front, so I couldn't see what it was. Here we are. And we click save, or did it open a new one? The little floating panel can be a pain sometimes. Click save, and now that chart is saved in the Friday file. If I want to save another copy someplace else, yes, there's already a copy. Yes, I want to save another one to another file. And this one, well, there's that new one that I just created. Save that, and now we've got it saved in the other file. But just remember that you're not saving in a folder. If you come up with this window, it's show options and then create new chart files. What I did forget to say is it can be useful to take screenshots when you see sets of things that I'm doing today that you want to remember. And when you're viewing the recording, it can also be useful to make a note of the timeline on the recording when the topic changes so that you can quickly go and find something rather than have to view the whole lot. Okay, so we'll just escape out of there. We can do a number of, I'm going to skip on now because I want to show you preferences. I'm going to come back to preferences and we'll come back and look at some of the other things a bit later on. This is important. Preferences is where you set what you want the computer to do most of the time. And the first thing you have to do is click on home and set your home location. Enter the town, hit the tab key, enter the state in America or the country anywhere else in the world, hit the tab key, hit the tab key. See, it's gone green, so it's looked it up and I know it's right. Save as default, and that will become my home location. Then the program knows where I'm living, or if I'm visiting somewhere and doing some work, a lot of work in one place, I might want to temporarily change it. It's that easy and you can change it as often as you want. While we're here, we've got a color scheme option. Now mine sets to auto. So when it's dark, my screen goes to the dark mode. And when it's light, it goes to the light mode. So you can set that it's always whichever way you want. And some people think the dark mode is better on your eyes. The dark mode's great if you want to do some stuff at night and other people are trying to sleep. It doesn't make such a bright light in the room. We've also got a choice of glyph style. The sans serif is the one that I've been using, and the styled, we were actually requested to do the styled one. Personally, I find the other one a bit cleaner. From here, we can choose to display our chart in monochrome or color, and we can also set the program to print in monochrome. But remember, if you've done that, if you suddenly want to print a color chart and it's coming out black and white, this could be why. The next area to look at is the displayed points. Now, these are the points that you're going to see on your chart, and the ones that are white, obviously, are the ones that are selected. And it's as easy as clicking the button, and you'll see it's actually happening as I'm working. We've got the 4 angles that we can display. We've got the vertex and a few other sensitive angles. We've got some Uranian planets, and we've got some asteroids. Once I start working with it, I get the option to save as. Now, what I'm working with now is displayed points default. From here, I can change the transit points, the progress points, and the arc directed points. The moment where we're using displayed points. I don't edit anything that comes with the program. So anytime I want to change a set, I'm going to give it a new name and save as. I did that backwards. Click save as and then give it your good name. Now you'll see, looking at the drop down box, we've got a lot of choices already for displayed points. The ones with the little underscore are the ones that I create for myself. And I do that so I know straight away it's my own. I don't have to think about, did it come with the program or is it the one I created? Obviously, one with a person's name didn't come with the program, but I can tell whose that is easily. Here we also choose extra points, and we've got a lot of scope here. At the top, we can choose midpoints, minor bodies, lots and parts, fixed stars, fixed position, nodes, and apsides. They're planetary nodes. And it's as simple as clicking what you want, click add, and there you are, there's your point. Now, if you want any of these points that you're adding for displayed points also to be aspected points, just click the little box under the A, which is where aspect doesn't fit. And if you hover over it, you'll see that it means display. So I can get my big arrow out of the way. It'll display aspect lines for that point. Some of these give us more options. Minor bodies, they've all got their little glyph. And somebody asked if we were going to add more. No doubt. We take changes largely by what's most requested. So if one person asks for one thing, it might not quite jump to the top of the list. But if it's something a lot of people are asking for, it certainly gets its way further up there. We've got a number of fixed stars, and there's a number of different sets of stars. So you can choose all named stars, the Hermes stars, the brightest stars, and the ecliptic stars. And I like the way they're displayed. They've got a lovely little star and 3 letters for abbreviation. So there's adding 1 star. You can enter any fixed position, the same way as I showed you before, like 12 Sag, 22, add, and there's our little fixed point. Nodes and apsides, we can do ascending node, which is theoretically north node, descending node, which looks like the south node, perihelion and aphelion. And that's the same way, just click it and add. So now we've added a few things to our chart. Because I've changed it, I might save it as, and I'll call it Sunday. You can see I'm very imaginative with my chart names. Now the next tab we've got is the aspected points. Now you'll see I've got everything selected because it will only be aspected if it's also a displayed point. So I don't have to go in and think about what I do or don't want aspected. If it's displayed, it will be aspected. And if I want to be more selective, again, I can take out the angles. I can make my own set. I can do nodes only if I want to. And again, if I've created something that's totally stupid and I go through and clean up, I can delete it. The aspect tab gives you a little bit to play with. First of all, there's all these aspects to choose from. The ones that are highlighted are selected. The ones that are grayed out are deselected. And you select and deselect by clicking the little button with the tick on it. So if I want to make the semi-square on or off, I can change the orb of any of these aspects. And I've got the choice of changing the luminaries, both applying and separating, and other planets, both applying and separating. And again, it's as easy as clicking in the area, type the number, hit the tab key, type the number, hit the tab key, type the number, hit the tab key. I sound like a broken record, don't I? And then for each aspect that you want to change the orbs. Pardon me. If I want to edit an existing set, just click the edit button first, and then it will know I'm working on the same one. If I'm saving it and creating a new one, just click save as, and it will let me create a new file. There's quite a bit on the wheels page. First of all, what wheel style do you want, or dial style for every option? Now, you must read the heading and the side column. So this one is the uni wheel. This one is the uni dial. So they're all independent. For single wheels, bi wheels, etc. You can have a different wheel style. Now, people often ask us about the retrograde. Some of the wheels show the retrograde with an RX. Some of them show it with red numbers. Don't get confused with the symbol. It's the degree numbers that tell you it's retrograde. Now that's the AstroGold wheel that I'm using at the moment. If I go down to the uni wheel, it will show me it has the retrograde ring. Now, you'll see this little button here. That's our wheel editor. And time doesn't permit me to do that today. On our following session in July, I will be talking about the wheel editor. You can actually create your own wheels with up to 12 rings, and you choose what you want in them. And you'll see one of the wheels that I like to use is the Egyptian terms. Pardon me, which is one that comes with the program. Now, I mentioned earlier on the colors of the rings in the main screen. Here's where you turn it on or off. If I turn it off, all the wheels are white. If I turn it on, the natal chart is this browny color, transits are green, progressions are blue, and directions are rosy. And I find that's really good when you're working with multiple charts. You don't have to read the text to know which wheel you're looking at. You can see straight away which one's the natal, which one's the progression, which one's the direction. If your wheels have fill design, fill color, you can choose the color if it's blank, and you can change the intensity, which won't show here because I haven't got a fill wheel. I've got one that's already selected with rainbow. We have stationary options. Now, if enable stations is ticked, your chart will show you stationary planets on a wheel that does have the stationary or retrograde little arrow. You've also got control of when you consider a planet to be stationary. And sometimes people get confused because somebody says Mercury's stationary. Oh, no, it's not stationary till tomorrow. That depends on the settings they've used for when they want to consider a planet stationary. If you haven't got any idea, just leave it how it comes and that will be fine. We can also edit the colors of planets, signs, sign fills, and aspects and create your own. I'm just showing you that it's here today. Going further into that, we'll probably look at later on. Just for now, I'll show you that when you click on a and an item in one of these areas, your color box opens up and you've got 5 different ways of choosing your colors. I like the pencils because it actually tells you what the color is, and then you can remember it. When you're coming back from the dial, it's very hard to get the same color twice if you want it. The color box will stay open until you close it, so you don't have to keep opening it and closing when you're working with it. So same way we can edit the elements and the sign fill and the aspects. I can show aspect lines on or off. I can show aspect glyphs on or off. We can have thicker lines for tighter orbs. So straight away, I know that this is the tightest aspect because it's the thickest line. We can select fainter lines for looser orbs. Personally, I find that a bit light, and I have seen where people have actually missed an aspect because it was so light. And I do like proportional houses. Proportional houses mean that when a house is small, it looks small. When it's big, it looks big. On most wheels, if that's turned off, everything looks like it's 30 degrees. And for my very visual brain, it's easy to confuse a square and a trine if the houses are not proportional. We do have shadowed glyphs, which I don't like because I think it just makes it fuzzy. And also, if you're going to print a chart, especially if you want to publish, it's not quite so clean. We looked at dials before, and here's where you choose your default modulus, although in most things you can change it when you're there, like for a graphic ephemeris, you can tell it what modulus you want, but my default is 90, and the max orb for dials and midpoints is showing. Another important section is the calculations window. This is where you set your default for zodiac and house systems, where you set true or mean for lunar node and the black moon, and whether you set a different day, night, or fixed formula for the part of fortune. We've got some options for angle progressions, and they will give you a different result progressing your angle. So if you don't understand or you're not used to yet working with different ways of progressing the angles, leave it as it is. And when your studies take you further, you will then be able to choose. We also have the Bija option for progressed day rate. And down the bottom, options for dignity and traditional planets, each with a drop down, so you choose which one you want to look at. And dynamic, this is a Pandora's box. This is how we tell the program to run a particular set. So we've got, there's things like major transits, progressed lunar phases, and you'll see I've created a whole heap of them myself. If I want to edit or create, click on a button, choose one to use as a basis. We'll use transits and progressions. I get the choice now to create or clone. And straight away, I've got my little box to edit the dynamic job, but I'm not going to edit anything that comes with the program ever. And the program straight away gives me a copy in the name, so I can't make the mistake of overwriting something. And when I'm doing things that are rubbish, I like them to look like rubbish so that I don't think it's something important and waste my time on a non-thing. So the name today is Sunday. I know some of you are still on Saturday, but we're on Sunday where I am. I never bother with the time span because every time I'm going to use one of these, I get the option of setting the time span myself and the start date. The default is that the program goes to the beginning of the previous month and runs for 14 months. So you get the coming into period, you get the year you want, and then a workout month. The options in this particular method are transits to natal and progressions to natal. And it's giving me, in this one, it's giving me transits from 7 points in the sky by 5 aspects to 13 points on the chart. Now, I might not remember what I created there. So if I click on the edit button, I can see transits to natal, 7 points, Jupiter to the North Node. And if I want to just clarify that some more, click on the button and the highlighted ones are the ones that are selected. The aspects selected here are 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can add or remove as we did before with the display points. And the points we're aspecting to are these points in the natal chart. And again, we can add extra points just like we did in display points. I've also got the choice to add, enter, or leave event. So that will tell me when something comes into orb and when it separates out of orb. I can add house ingress events. I can add sign ingresses, planetary stations, eclipses, and perigees, apogees. Now that is for the transits to the natal. When I fix that, I'll save that, and now that's set. If I want to look at what the progressions are doing, likewise, click on edit and look at what's happening. Now you'll see, I don't know if you noticed, and I'll just go back. When we looked at editing the transits, I had an option up here of changing what I'm looking at. So I could make it transits, I can change it to progressions, directions, etc. Likewise, when I go into the second option, and there's more here because it's already a progression. So for progression, I've got further choices. Again, I can change this to transits, progressions, etc., to the chart or to what's happening in the sky. So you can add lots and lots of different things here. The method works the same for all of them. Again, we've got 13 points, and to check them or change them, click on the little button and add what you want. If you want progressions to show you any of these things, just tick on the boxes again and then save. And there you are. Now, if I want to add solar arc directions, oh, look, and the program already thinks maybe directions might be the next thing I want to add. So directions has popped up, but I can change that. I'm not locked into that. Just change it with the down arrow. It's looking at solar arc direction, but I've got a few more options as well. And the same way we edit and now save, and now I've created. So I've got transits, progressions, and directions. So I'd probably want to change my name so that I know what I'm looking at. It's really such a waste of time to have to go in and explore that every time you want to use something. So now we save that. We've now got a new set down here at the bottom. Now, if I don't like where it is, I can move its position up and down. And I like them to be in alphabetical order because it makes them so much easier to find, especially when you create a whole lot of stuff like I do. You'd think I was a master astrologer. I'm just a master trainer. Okay, so that's our preference box, and that's a very important thing for you to play with. Coming back to what we're looking at, the next thing we can do with our chart is make subsidiary charts. And we can either do that from clicking the subsidiary button up here, or we can click select and then click subsidiary. And here's our choices. I've only got one chart open, so that cuts down my choices. I can't do a composite with one chart, and I can't do a Davidson with one chart. But I can do transits, progressions, directions. I can do returns and ingress, and I can do lunar phase. And when you see planet return, that includes the sun. We do have people say, how can I do a solar return? You do it by clicking on planet, then you click solar for sun. Where do you want it to go? Check the date you want to look at. Obviously, you're not going to enter the exact date, but if you enter a date near to the return, not every solar return is on exactly the same date as the natal chart, especially if you're born in the early hours of the day, or very late or early hours of the day. We can change the location. This is where the home location kicks in. It knows what your home location is, or you can choose any other location that you want. which return do we want? So we've got a date in, it's today. I can choose the one that's actually happening now. I can choose the nearest one, or I can choose the next. And then when I calculate, now I've got my solar return chart. If I want to look at the natal chart as well, I'm going to switch to 2, and I'm going to go back to Joe's natal chart. From the recently used, there's Joe. Okay, so now we've got Joe, and I'll put the solar return on the outside and the natal on the inside. You do it whichever way you want to look at. That's how you look at it. They're both static charts, so they're both the brownie color. There's a whole lot of things we can look at here with the select button. While I'm here, I can make a current transit chart, and I'll just go to the third one to show you that. Helps if you click it on the right place. So now we want a current transit chart, and hey presto, there you are. It's that easy. From the select, I can also make a new chart. So we can go up here to new, we can go charts to new, we can go keyboard to new, or we can go select to new. And here we can also open, we can edit the chart, and we can make a subsidiary, which is one we just did. We've got an option for favorites, and favorites, just click the tick here, not a tick, it's a star. Click on the star and it will become a favorite. Recently used will show you the last 10 charts that you had open. And if you want to clear that, just come down and click clear recently charts, and that will be empty. It can be very handy to go back to, and you would have seen that when I had Joe's chart, turned it into a solar return, and then I could very easily open his natal chart again from the recently used button. From here, I can see all of my display points set that we set up in the preferences earlier, and I just click on one and choose what I want. And here I can remove the chart, which will turn it to a transit chart. There's different ways of looking at the chart, and sheets will give you all the options. How am I going for time? 7:05, not too badly. Sheets is the way you look at different things for your chart. Oh, there's the 12 sun sign wheels. That must be the last one I looked at, and that gives us a chart for each sun sign on the ascendant. So it's the same chart that I'm looking at. It's actually Joe's chart, and we've got each sign on the ascendant on this page. Going back to the top, we can look at just one wheel, and if I've got more than one chart open, I can choose it from the little drop down arrow here. And you'll see I've got my little codes at the top. I can save it, I can file it, I can export it or print it, and I can pin it. So now I've got that there, it'll be there when I want it. We can look at the grid. We can look at the wheel with the grid. We can see a points list, and it'll give you lots of information about the chart and different planets in the chart. It tells me what chart I'm looking at, so I know what I'm doing, and the same little buttons here at the top. The options change with what you're looking at. Syzygies and eclipses, wheel and basic. This is a really good one. It gives you more information about what's happening with the chart. Or the beginner chart is fabulous if you're doing a chart for somebody who doesn't understand astrology, because it tells you what the squiggles are. So we can see what the planet's sign is and what the planet actually is and where it is. Same with the aspects and same with the signs. Did I say signs there? They're planets, not signs. It also gives us the breakdown of the polarities and the elements, etc. In predictive, we can look at progressive lunar phases, and you'll see this one has got a little cog. So I can change my setting on this one, and this one gives me the option of saving the full list as a PDF. If there's too many things on the list, you'll have a scroll bar. If everything fits on the one window, you won't. Lifetime arcs is the system devised by A.T. Mann. It's a little like Fideria, but not exactly. And we saw the sun sign wheels. For traditional, we can see all the essential dignities and we can sort the order that we're looking at. We can look at the house dignities, the planetary sect, dignitaries and horary. And I can change, once I've got one selected, I can move up and down by just using the arrow button on my keyboard. Alphaderia, perfections, zodiacal releasings, and lunar mansions. And we can see lists of midpoints, we can see midpoint trees, we can see information about asteroids, we can see Arabic parts and lots, we can see fixed stars. There's the list of fixed stars. Thinking. I'll just collapse some of these because I run out of room on my little window. And we can also view nodes and apsides as a list. Anytime you're ready. And as aspects. Sometimes this touchpad wants a hard touch and sometimes it wants just a feather touch. When we're looking at two charts, we can look at the bi-wheel, we can look at a bi-grid, we can look at a synastry chart. Oh, and I didn't tell you that when you're looking at it, you can change which one is on the inside just by selecting from the top. And we can look at dual wheels. And we've also got the chart information when we're looking at that way. The three charts, tri-wheels or three separate wheels, and the same with quad wheels, the concentric rings or four separate wheels. They've all got a pin, they've all got an export, save, whatever you want to do. So there you can do things with your charts later on. The pin button will show me all the things I've pinned and not necessarily in this session. And it's also going to show me if they're already favorites, and the ones that are ticked are the ones that are currently pinned, but I can retrieve them when I want them. If I get too busy here, I can clear it easily. Now there's something that I do need to show you in view, and it is, where is it in AstroGold? In AstroGold, under AstroGold, there's a little option here that says clear displayed data. So if you want to clear what is visible when you're changing clients or doing something else, AstroGold clear displayed data will clear personal data from display, but pay attention to what you're actually clearing before you click the button. And for me, it clears too much. I don't want to get rid of all of those things. So instead of clearing everything, I select everything and turn it to current transits before I change my session, unless I know that I've got one of my anonymous people or one of my public people already in this setting. Listings will give you some information about the chart you're looking at. So what are we looking at? Top right, choose what you want to look at, and the options for how you're going to look at it change depending on what you've got here. This particular section is not printable or savable, it's just viewable. And if you want to copy and paste, go ahead, too much work for me. If you want to print a list, you go to dynamic. Now, this is the one we played with last. The system remembers what I did last. This is why I don't set the time, because I get to change it anytime I use them. So if I've got, I don't know how many things I've got selected here. So rather than spend all day waiting for it, I'll modify it. If we start from the beginning of last month, and we'll just do 2 months in case I've got everything but the kitchen sink selected. 2 months, I can change my location by clicking the pin. I can edit, go back into my dynamics if I don't like the one I've got here. I can change the one that I'm looking at just by clicking, and it'll show me all the ones that are available. Just escape out of that and leave it as it is. And I think I said select, but this is actually the edit button. So it'll take you in, you can create more and you can edit and change them. Ready to go, click run, and there's my generated report. And I'm going to expand that a bit so it's got a bit more room. And I can sort by clicking on the sort button. Much easier than that though. You can click on the actual heading and it will sort. And this reads like this. So we've got transiting Pluto, that's Jupiter. Transiting Jupiter is trine natal midheaven. That reads transiting is number 1. What it's transiting is number 2. We've got the house for point 1 and the house for point 2. The event is what is happening. L eclipse is a lunar eclipse. E is entering orb. X is exact. That one's changing sign. It's moving into a sign. We've got the date, we've got the time, we've got the age of the person, the position of planet 1 and the position of planet 2. We've got an R or a D, whichever is going direct or retrograde. And if it's retrograde, the information is red. So if you want to see what's going to happen to one of your planets, you might sort by the natal planet and you see your moon's going to have a square to Jupiter. It's going to have a couple of them. It's going to have a sextile to Neptune, etc. If you want to see what a planet's doing in the sky, what's Jupiter going to be doing? Sort by P1. If you want to know when it's going to happen, sort by the date. We can also view this as a time graph, which is actually printable. And this sets it up a bit like a calendar. So we've only got 2 months here. So there's May and June. This one's just happening. And as we scroll down, we can see the events happening as they come in. Now, at the moment, it's set to show entering, exact, and leaving, and the date. We've got some choices up here. Turn the date off or on. And I think I said that that is printable, so you can print it out and stick it up on the wall and be visually aware of when these things are going to start happening. Okay, is that all I have to show you in dynamic? The search button up here is a little bit more involved than the one we looked at earlier and gives you more options up here. But other than that, the bottom part is the same. So I can relate it to Joe. I can change the location and the start date. The other option I've got here is that when I find a new place, a new event, I can create a calculated chart. And there we have our chart. And it's actually telling me my bar's in the way. The chart is titled what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Moon conjunct 2 degrees Cancer. One of my favorite features in both of our software main programs is the graphic ephemeris. How am I going? Quarter past. Graphic ephemeris puts what you're going to be seeing in a graphic form. If you imagine a sphere opened out to a cylinder and then opened out to a flat page, that's what we're looking at here. So if I'm looking at Sunday, that same set we used before, it's transits. Again, I can change the set by clicking the arrow. I can change the what's doing by clicking the down arrow, or I can go back into my dynamic sets and create something totally new. We're looking at Joe's chart. That's the date of the chart. And we're looking at transits in longitude. I've got some settings options here. We can show the natal positions, the natal aspects and lunations. And I can change the location by clicking on the location pin. This will be all right for 14 months. So I'll leave that as it is. Expand the window a little bit. Not too far because I can't see it. And click run. And if you're trying to look at a time when things are aligning and doing good things for you, to my way of thinking, this is a fantastic way of doing it. Now, on the right-hand side, we have got the natal planets. And the dotted lines running across the page are the natal planets. They're fixed, they're not going to move. I'm using a 45-degree modulus here. That is going to show me conjunctions, squares, oppositions, semi-squares, and sesquiquadrates. Now, coming in from the left, we've got the transiting planets. Here's Uranus in Taurus. It's moving down the page till it squares natal Uranus in Aquarius. It moves on down the page past the new moon and then starts going up the page. When it's running down the page, it's in forward motion. When it's running up the page, it's retrograde. So at a glance, you can see, look at all these retrogrades here. 1, 2, 3, everything. When a planet drops off the bottom of the page, it straight away reappears at the top. When it drops off the top of the page, it straight away reappears at the bottom. This is the opened out cylinder. So it's like a tube and then it opens out flat. Where you've got a bunch of natal planets together, you know that's going to be a sensitive point because anything coming along hitting this, and here we've got the brown one is Saturn, it's going to hit the north node, the south node, Pluto, a fixed star, Chiron, and the moon. Now that you'll see they're not in the same sign, they're making hard aspects, and it's going to go bang, bang, bang on all of those. And we all know what happens when a major planet does that. Just note that that's going to happen there. And because we're using the 45 or even the 90 will just show you conjunction, squares, and oppositions, but it's still showing you hard aspects. And when it hits a number of them all together, it's really going to rattle your cage. If I want to look at what the next year is going to look like, I just change the date and click run, and there it is going to create the next period for me. Again, it's exportable. We can print it, we can save it, we can do all those usual export things with the graphic ephemeris. And that really gives you an idea of what's looking like at the year. Yes, I've covered everything there, so we can move on. We're doing quite well today. Sometimes I'm running out of time by here. Eclipse search will show you any eclipses that you want to look at, and you can calculate the chart for any that you've got highlighted. Interpretations gives you a little bit of information about the chart, and anytime you see one of these little arrows, it means there's more information. So you might find things that are listed and you say, well, there's not much there, but click, if there's a down arrow, click on the arrow because that will show you. Solar maps. Now we're getting to the stage where I'm just going to show you some of the things that are here. We don't have time today to go into detail, but I want to show you what's here. So if we're looking at maps, we've got options of different lines that we're showing. This is your astrocartography tool. We've got displayed here, I've got the planetary directions, which is here. And then we've got the culminate and anti-culminate. So we can see that at this location, these planets will be on the midheaven. At this location, the dotted lines and these planets will be on the IC. Ascendant is solid. And we can see where on the planet a particular planet, where on our planet, a particular planet will be on the ascendant or the descendant. And we can see where the planets actually are by where their little icon is. From here, you can do a relocation, you can look at eclipses, you can change the map, you can change the view. So I just want to show you that it's here. In our next session, we'll have more time to go into how you use the map function. And I want to briefly show you the pro reports. These generate customer-friendly, client-friendly reports from a natal chart. And these are at the moment on special until the 30th of June. Most of these are 295 Australian dollars each, and until the 30th of June, they are $220 each, only available from the website, not available from in-app purchases. So looking at the natal chart, we've got the natal, we've got a solar return, we've got a lunar return, we've got transits, we've got vocation, we've even got a pet report. And there's a new one called the Big Three, which is just the sun, moon, and ascendant. And obviously it goes into those points in more detail than the regular natal report. We can do for the birth chart, we can do a full report or an untimed report. We can choose any chart that we've got open. One little word of warning, if you're going to do a solar return or a lunar return chart, you first have to generate the solar return or the lunar return and then have that selected to run the report. Otherwise, it'll tell you the chart needs to be a solar return or a lunar return. And sometimes that's a bit confusing if you're not familiar. We do have a settings button here. And for the reports, you can actually add your personal details that will print on the front page of the report. We've got options to include things or take things out and make it a little bit more how you want it. When we're ready, we generate the PDF and it is only as editable as your PDF software. Let me shrink that down so you can see the whole page. So we start with the presentation page, then we have the chart, we have the astrological points, and then we go into the introduction, which tells you what a computer-generated report is and isn't. And it is not a substitute for a consultation with an astrologer, but it is something to take home. Some of them are really nice for gifts. A lot of grannies love the child one when there's a new grandchild into the family. A lot of people like the relationship. And of course, the solar return one is one you'd use every year. And the lunar return is one you'd look at every month for charting your life a bit better by the moon. Rather different to cookbook interpretations or the interpretation window that we were looking at before, these are written in life areas, especially the natal and the child and the adolescent. So rather than just a whole string of this is here and this is there, related to life goals, this is what's happening. And then related to home, what's home for this person? What are they looking for in home? What's happening with them for education and communication? Relationships, what do relationships mean to this person? What are they looking for in relationships? Motivation, career and ambition, creativity and originality, challenges in life. And if you want to have a look at what these look like, on the website, there are samples of each of the report types. Now, I think I can just about stop and I've done it in time. That's a first. Laurie, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. We do. Thank you so much. I've learned so much. I thought I knew my software pretty well, but after today, I realized there's so much more. Okay, let's see. The first question. This is about transferring charts from Janus software to AstroGold. Is it possible to transfer charts?
No. AstroGold will only import .sfcht files. The only exception, well, Jigsaw will import a number of different chart files and you can convert them and then send them back, but I'm not sure whether Jigsaw handles Janus.
Okay. The next one is the by wheel. When you do the animation, can you make the animation for the outside wheel, or is it only for the inside wheel?
The animation is for the chart, is for the natal chart, not for the, it's for the transiting chart, not for the natal. let me just close that and show you what I'm talking about. So if we've got, if we move into,
And I'm not sure that I asked this question right, so let me ask it again. It's
I
when
think I've got it. I thought that, I think she means, can you change how fast it goes around when you're doing this? You can change the click from seconds to years. If you've got it on the solid run where it just keeps going, now that looks like, oh, that's a week. If you want to control how fast it's moving and you want to have time and look at it, use the arrow with the bar, and it won't move again until you click it again. Is that answered the question? Is that what the person is actually asking?
Yeah, there is. Can you adjust the speed when you're viewing the animated chart and this person wants to slow it down?
Only by using the individual click. So you move it on step at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
yes, you can install on more than one device. You can put it on your devices for your purpose. And if you want to install it on another computer, email your original install email to yourself and use all the links. Anytime you use that install link, it will be the latest version of AstroGold.
okay. So going back to the animation, I'm going to read the question word for word so I get it right. So when you cast a by wheel, can you keep the houses of the outer house, or will they change to match the house cusps of the chart that is in the center?
That depends on the by wheel you use. If you choose, if we go in here and choose wheel style, control, this is something I didn't show you, control left click will allow you to change some things about a particular wheel. So if I go into the wheel style and use dual houses, it's going to give me the houses of both wheels. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Is there a way to, we just answered that one. Sorry. What is the oldest operating system you can install AstroGold?
10.13.
10.13. Okay. They're asking about
that's something like High Sierra, I think. It's certainly older than Catalina.
Oh, okay. That was the question, Catalina. All righty. Can you adjust the orbs in the horary type of chart?
No, horary and transits are hardwired, I think, at 1 degree. I've never tried to do it, but I think they're hardwired at 1 degree at this stage. We have had a few requests to be able to alter the transit orbs. I guess it will be something that's in the pipeline. Any of you who've had the program for any time will be aware just how attuned we are to what people want in their software. Once IO ceased to exist, a lot of people came over to AstroGold, and a lot of things that they wanted were incorporated into the program.
Okay. Is there a next aspect and previous aspect function based on the orbs that are given?
Yes, when you're looking at Chart Explorer, dynamic will give you what's coming up. So that's what's happened and that's what's coming. Does that answer your question?
So Meghna, let us know if that doesn't answer your question.
The other way is to run the dynamic, and that will show you it's doing what I just did before. The dynamic report will show you if you've got entering and leaving. Here you're telling it's entering, and Neptune, Jupiter is entering, leaving. So it probably came and went back and didn't become exact then. So that's when it comes into orb, and that's when it's leaving. So you can see it in the dynamic listing, or you can see it in the Chart Explorer information.
Okay, great. In the saved charts, is there a way, you know, how you can uncheck the reverse names? Is there a way to make that the default?
The program remembers what you do. So when you open the chart and select one thing, next time you open it, it will be that way.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any way to delete the files that come with the program, like the entertainers?
Yep. You probably do it better through Finder. So if you open Finder, and the charts that come with the program will probably be in Documents. They'll be in, hang on, we've got windows in the way. They'll be in AstroGold. Gone too far. Where am I? Oh, there you are. It's right there. So if I click on that and do the double thing over with the mouse pad and send it to the bin. Same way you delete any file in Finder. You might need to close the program first, and I really don't know if it'll pop up again. When you update your program, it might be replaced again, but there's only about 3 files that come with the program. Is it such a problem?
Going back to the reverse names, the checkbox.
Yeah.
I think it was Bonnie who was saying that it doesn't hold it doesn't hold the last way that you used it, like that it seems to go back. Is that something that we should email Stephanie about?
Yeah.
Okay, I've noticed that too, that I uncheck it and the next time I open it, it's checked. So we'll pop.
I hadn't noticed it. Yeah, I see that. Yes, you'd really want that to hold, wouldn't you? Yeah, email Steph. I've got a little note here that if I just get this control panel out the way again. There. So there's some information about emailing Steffi. Steffi's the director, and any changes you want to the program, just email Steffi. If you're interested in ordering any of those specials on at the moment, go to astrotech.com.au. And remember, please remember your user guide. There's so much in the user guide. We've also got podcasts and YouTube videos for all sorts of things. Oh, and something I will tell you, anytime you try to update your program and your computer says enter your password, it wants your personal computer password. AstroGold doesn't need a password. Once you've got your license, when it's installed, won't ever ask you for a password again. It's your computer password, just like it will for anything you want to install on your Apple security. More questions?
There are. Are you available to answer some more questions?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay. So Rachel asks, in saved files, do your notes in your personal files show up in the comments like the preloaded files in the software?
The preloaded software, if there's comments, it's there. It only shows when you go looking at comments. It doesn't pop up when you're opening the window, opening the chart. Have I understood the question?
I think so. I think that she was asking if they're in the same place as the demo that you showed of a saved chart. So if that doesn't answer your question, go ahead and pop it back into the box.
If anybody wants this information that's on the screen at the moment, can I ask you just to take a screenshot, and then I'll switch back to the program so we can demonstrate if it's relevant to the questions. So Command-Shift-3 or Command-Shift-4, one will allow you to select the bit, the other one will just screenshot the whole screen.
Okay, the next question is, if you have inadvertently changed a program setting, can you send it back to the factory settings?
I don't know if there's an easy way to do that. Perhaps if you delete the program and reinstall it, that might do it. I think that is something I have requested because people have asked for that, and it really is certainly handy. And I know in Solar Fire, if you get all confused, you can go and say reset to factory. And it is an advantage because we like people to play with the program. One thing I will say, anytime you save anything, if you use my system, and it doesn't have to be my system, but you'll notice everything I do has got an underscore at the front of it. I know that's mine. And if it turns out to be rubbish, I can delete it. And with demonstrating the program as frequently as I do, I create some rubbish, and every now and again I need to go and clean it all out. And I know, use your initial, use something. You've got to be careful with characters because underscore is acceptable, but a lot of symbols aren't acceptable for operating programs at the start. I was using a plus at one stage, but then the computers decided no, they didn't like that. Even if you just put an A or your initials or something to identify the things that you create, which is a bit hard to go back and undo. And I accidentally edited a file the other day and didn't have a clue what it was supposed to be. So reinstalling will help you. And that should not overwrite your own personal things. It will just set it back to default. But then again, it might not. It might still use your preferences because they'll still be there.
Okay, next question. Can you get the angle abbreviations and have them show up in a single chart? This Rachel says that she sees them when there's multiple charts, but not in a single chart.
What do you mean by the angle abbreviation?
Like AS, DC, IC, MC, like actually like a planet kind of showing up in the chart.
Well, you've got an arrow on the ascendant and an arrow on the midheaven on the inside chart. Not at this stage. Now, that is something that has been asked once or twice, and I did send that question off to Steffi last week. If somebody else wants to ask it, do, because the more times it's asked for, the higher it gets up the list for things to be included.
Yeah, that's one I'd like to see too, because I use this wheel and it's kind of hard to see the degree, you know.
I'll tell you, yes, it's really interesting because I took the Kepler quiz a few weeks ago and I didn't read the instructions properly, and one part was brilliant and the other half was terrible. And then when I went back, I was looking at the wrong chart. And then there was an answer. I'm thinking, why is that wrong? And it was one of these charts that's got 4 houses in about less than a quarter of the wheel. You know, it's so scrunched up. And I'd missed the actual axis and was reading east for west. And I had to go back 3 times to see what I'd done. So I understand what you're saying. Yes. Just drop a note to Steffi and say we want to see the abbreviations on the single wheel for the ascendant, the midheaven, the IC and the DC. One of the things with things that they're putting on it, so many people are working on small computers these days. You know, I work on a MacBook, which is what, about 12 inches. So real estate is precious. And it's if you get too much in it, it can get really hard to read. My desktop is a 24-inch screen, so you know it is fabulous. But the Mac is a small one.
Yeah. Okay. So in regard to that last question, email Steffi. I think I'm going to email Steffi too. So the more of us who want that feature, the more of us who should email. The more likely we'll see it soon. Get it to the top of the list. Okay. This is a question about time cycles. Transferring over to AstroGold when time cycles went out of business, and Kay wants to know if she has transferred the files but didn't use it yet, and wants to know if she should delete the files and then transfer them from IO Edition, or just do it again, and will it add all the new ones or correct the changes?
Whether she's used it or not, they'll still be there. The import is, if you click on AstroGold and import IO charts, it will find, actually, once you've got AstroGold on the same computer as IO, it will find them and import them. They might not be in exactly the same folders that they were, and there are some derivative charts that won't import. It's basically natal charts that people are most concerned with. But if you've got your charts on a memory stick, you can import IO chart. You can import IO charts by having your memory stick in and then directing to where it is. I wouldn't bother going to the trouble of deleting and uninstalling and so forth. Do backup before you do anything. Save your chart files someplace off the computer. I like to have them in a number of places because I have one client who had the computer updated by a tech who assured her he'd saved everything, and this was Solidify, and it's so easy because it's My Documents Solidify. You don't even have to back up anything separately. 30 years of professional astrology data gone because the professional tech stuffed up on the saving. Save your files in Finder. Let me just get Finder up. Come on, wake up. Oh, there's a window open. In Finder, your AstroGold stuff is all in an AstroGold folder. So if you go to your desktop, you've got AstroGold somewhere. I'm wobbling around because I've got little things popping up around me. Sort by name. Oh, it's not desktop, it's documents. Wake up, Rhonda. AstroGold, there's all your chart files. Copy them, drag them to a memory stick. Copy them to Google Drive, copy them to iCloud. I don't like everything to be in one place. And if I've got just in the iCloud files, we go to iCloud, got AstroGold, there's my chart files that are on iCloud. But I never quite trusted the cloud stuff. I keep a copy of it on a memory stick. I've got a backup drive that's running all the time. Save your data, save your data. It's so important.
Okay. We're getting lots more questions. So a couple of people asked this, if you buy AstroGold, is it only for one computer, one license, one computer, or can you have it on more than one?
No, you can have AstroGold on your computers for your use. If you've got 3 people working together, you really need to have your own license, but your computer, your use, yes, you can have it on your computers. And I think I answered somebody earlier on, when you subscribe, when you purchase AstroGold, it comes by email with a link and the serial code. Save that email. That's precious, that's gold. You can click on that link anytime to download the software, and it will give you the latest version of the software. Copy and paste your user code and you're away. It's that easy, but you've got to keep it. And when you're entering the license, be very careful that there's no extra characters or spaces. Sometimes when you copy, the system adds a space at the end. That will stop it working, and then you can get into all sorts of trouble, and then Apple remembers and hides text, and you can really get a mess with things just being challenging. So, but the main point is keep that. You can email it to yourself and then access it on another computer.
Right. And for updates, when AstroGold is updated, how do people get their updates? Is there a button in the software?
If your computer is set to automatically update, it will do it itself and it'll tell you there's a new update to install. If you don't have it set that way, go to AstroGold and go check for updates, or Command-Shift-U will automatically do it. But remember, if it asks for password, it's your computer password. It's not our AstroGold password.
Okay. All right, let's see. There's still quite a few questions, and I think that we've covered most of them, though. A few people are having to leave and asking, how do they get the discount, the code for Kepler participants?
When you go to astrotech.com.au, order your products, there's a coupon code space at the bottom. I think it's Kepler 20. The Kepler 20, Kepler 15, something like that.
I think it's Kepler 20, but let me just go double check.
And it's on the information that was sent out to join the webinar. And I don't think there's any time limit on that. I think it's just that, but you must enter the code when you do the purchase. We can't go back and credit things that have happened previously.
It's Kepler 20. I'm going to pop it into the chat box.
Now that only applies to full price products. Obviously our AstroGold Pro report writers that are already discounted heavily, you won't get further discount on that, and you won't get discount on bundles because they're already heavily discounted. But full price product, certainly the program AstroGold.
Okay, and the last question, where did it go? It was about the reports, and the question was about being able to print the reports for others.
Oh, yes. That's the whole purpose of it. You've purchased the program so you can generate as many reports for that particular report that you want. You can sell them, you can give them away as gifts. What would be the point of purchasing them otherwise?
Yeah, I think that maybe the confusion is that when you pay for the license, that means that you can resell the reports, right? And charge for them.
You can sell the reports that are generated from the program, yes.
And you would want to have the license to do that. But if you're for personal use, you can print a report for someone.
No, if you purchase a pro report, you can sell the reports that you generate. Set your own price. There's no limitation on that. You pay what people charge, what people will pay.
But you have to pay for the license, or
buy the license. You buy the program. It comes in here, and you install it through here. Once you've purchased the license, you've got a bit here that says enter the license, and then you'll see mine say license. They're all licensed, so they've got the report writer has been purchased. It's now installed in the computer, and they're all licensed, and I can do 1 million of those reports if I want to. I can give them away. I can sell them. You can't unsell your software, but you can certainly sell the reports that are generated.
Okay, fantastic. So I know that there's more questions, but we will be back, and Rhonda will answer lots more questions and go into more detailed features. And July 22nd, right? I don't have it in front of me, but we'll be back.
Time. It's July 23 in Australia and July 22. I'm not sure what time I don't know which day it is in Europe and England.
Yeah, it's Saturday, and we'll be back July 22nd. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time, so you can do your time change from there, and we'll go into more details. So Rhonda, do you want to share all of your information again, where people can find you if they want to do more trainings with you? Let them know all of your information.
Unless you've got a problem with time, I'm happy to answer some of those questions that are still sitting there.
Yeah, okay, let's go for it. The next one is, can we change on AstroGold how we calculate elements, modes, polarities so that not all points displayed have the same weight?
No, there is a weighting system at the moment. And if you want to be able to set your own weighting system, email Steffi.
Email Steffi. Okay, is there a way to edit the reports? I'm guessing that
only
means
as far as your PDF editing software allows. The reports are generated as PDF, and that's how they are. You can print them. You can make comments on it in preview. If you've got more sophisticated editing software for PDF, you may be able to edit it further.
Great. Can you create a graph of the exact degrees of one particular retrograde cycle?
Oh, hello, Stacey. We've had Stacey on my classes before. The exact degree. Create a graph. You mean in the graphic ephemeris?
Why don't you clarify that for us, Stacey, in the Q&A box, and we'll round back to you. And the next one is, can you make exact aspect lines even fatter than the default thickness?
Not at this stage, but we have had some questions. In Solidify, you've got a bit more control of filtering an aspect highlighting and filtering, email Steffi, tell her you want to make thicker lines.
Okay, would you demonstrate again how to clear the charts?
In recently used, you can clear it here. So I went on to select, down to recently used. Oh, I just clicked it. They're gone. That's how.
Okay. The next one is, are there any videos teaching discrete elements of the program?
Yes, on that YouTube channel I showed you, and I'll put that page up again when we've just finished with the questions.
Okay. In Horary, I like to see what the last aspect was that a planet made and what the next aspect will be. Is that?
Horary. There are some things there. Oh, good. Well, wasn't predictive. I've got to remember where it is. When I'm going through it at MySpace, it's easy to see what I'm doing. There is a graph. There's the 30-degree strip that shows you. I can't even see the page anymore. Wheel point, syzygy, basics. Can you email me that one and I'll look it up for you rather than take all the time looking for it? And Stacey's back. Can you create a graph of the exact degrees of one particular retrograde cycle? If you can pinpoint the actual time, I don't know. I've not tried to do it. I'd have to play with it and let you know.
Okay. We did it. It's all of them. Or you did it, I should say. I did the easy part. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up then.
Again. And remember, Steffi at EsoTech for anything you want added in your program or changed. AstroTech is my web page. Down here, we've got the YouTube. My own is bit.ly YouTube AstroTech, and mine is in playlist. So Solar Fire is in one playlist, AstroGold Mac is in another playlist, Android is in another. So it just makes them easy. You know, you get to these things and find hundreds of little videos. It takes you forever to find what you want. So I try and keep it as simple as I can. There's also an EsoTech YouTube channel, and we do little 10-minute videos of this, that, and the other. Run classes every month, and they're recorded, so you get to be able to review those. You can download the recording and keep them.
Okay. Hopefully you have grabbed a screenshot of this so you have that information, and you can contact Rhonda at any of these places, but Rhonda at astrotech.com.au is her email. And hopefully we'll see you on July 22nd for our part 2. Thank you so much, Rhonda. This was fantastic. I've learned so much. I can't wait to go play with my AstroGold now.
Thank you. It's been a great session. Thank you all for joining on.
Yes, thanks. And thanks, Lori Waters, also for being here. So we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.